Hello, my friends with benefits. Well, the benefit I'm talking about is that you get to come back and hear all this great dating advice every week. What did you think I was talking about? Well, yeah, there are people out there that have that kind of arrangement, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the 9 rules for friends with benefits and what it really means. First off, I want to start out with a definition of friends with benefits for those of you who might be a little unclear on this term and what it really means. Sometimes friends with benefits is shortened down to simply FWB, or maybe even hashtag FWB for you Twitter fiends out there. But the Urban Dictionary defines it like this. Friends with benefits. 2 friends who have a sexual relationship without being emotionally involved. Typically 2 good friends who have casual sex without a monogamous relationship or any kind of commitment. Well, that's pretty straightforward. I'd have to go along with that. It's a good definition. Wikipedia says it like this. Casual sex, a sexual activity that takes place outside of a romantic relationship and implies an absence of commitment, emotional attachment, or familiarity between sexual partners. Examples are sex in casual relationships, one-night stands, extramarital sex, prostitution, or swinging. Wowza! That's a pretty broad definition. But since it includes casual sex of any kind, well, I guess it has to, right? So when we're talking about an arrangement that involves a friend of yours and sex, you have to agree there's a lot of mystery about it. There's a lot of interpretation in between the lines there. Mostly because there are a lot of boundary issues involved in that kind of situation. And that's why I want to give you 9 rules to set up that arrangement in a way that best suits you. But not before I throw out a few cautionary words into the mix. Hey, you know me by now, right? All right, let's go into FWB caution number 1. It's always going to get serious for someone. And I hate to say it, but it will probably be you first. Women tend to entertain this kind of arrangement, this FWB arrangement, at first to suit the guy, and is kind of a backdoor way of getting into a relationship with him, right? But it always becomes more emotionally entangling eventually. So just realize there is an expiration date on this little arrangement. FWB caution number 2 is it's all about the boundaries. To the degree that you can keep up healthy and strong boundaries, as well as your partner can do it, the longer this is going to last. Now, the rules I'm going to share with you will help a bit as you go forward. These rules form kind of a container for this kind of relationship. FWB caution 3, be safe above all else. And this means using birth control, sensible protection against STDs, of course, and get tested every 6 months as a rule. And of course, with any change of partners, you need to get tested again and require that he does that too. And safe also means being safe with your lifestyle and choices. If your emotions are running the show, you could be pressured into going into uncharted and possibly unsafe emotional space. And you want to make good choices, right? As well as being safe with yourself and your feelings of wholeness and integrity. Now, let's dig into those 9 rules of friends with benefits. Rule number 1, know what you want going in. This is where you have to know what your real feelings are for this guy. You can't harbor a secret desire to be his real full-time girl if you go with this friends with benefits route, right? Typically, you choose this direction because you're not in a place to nurture a relationship. That's why you go FWB. Hey, maybe your time is limited. Maybe your emotional capacity is not quite there, and you just don't want to put that emotional investment in. Maybe you just want some sacred space for you, and maybe you want to throw in a little sexual healing somewhere along the way. Whatever the reason is, you have to be aware of your stories going on in your life right at that moment, because these are going to dictate your needs and your desires when you start getting sexual with this guy or continue to get sexual with this guy. After all, sex is a powerful force in our lives, both emotionally and spiritually. You have to go in knowing what you want, and you have to respect that power too. That force, that energy is very, very consuming. Rule number 2, don't hook up with your neighbor or anyone that lives really close to you. A lot of people ignore this one in the name of convenience. After all, what's nicer than doing your walk of shame up 2 flights of stairs and just taking a quick shower and going to work? Well, I used to make it a general rule that my quote-unquote special friend couldn't live too close to me, or it might start blurring the boundaries of our relationship. It's easy to pop over, to drive by, to check in on them, right? But at what cost? And this is even worse when it's a person in your apartment building. That's just too close and too weird. Even weirder is if it's your roommate. That's the only other weirder situation I can think of. So keep in mind the physical limitation of space. Some people even set a rule that they can't have this relationship with someone who lives within flying distance, which is a very specific boundary that can keep it very safe for everybody involved. And it kind of cuts down on the frequency of get-togethers, but, sometimes that's a good thing. It also stops them from checking in and getting jealous on you in the middle of the week. Anyway, rule number 3, there is no walk of shame. Yes, as a man, I'll be the first to tell you that this sex-shaming term needs to bite the dust, okay? I think it was started with the best of intentions, even humor as a driving force behind using this term of walk of shame. And that's how I intended it when I just mentioned it in the previous rule. But in this day and age, even covert shaming, hell, it even has the word shame right in there. Even covert shaming needs to be dropped. If you're choosing to have a relationship of any kind, shame will only get in the way. Don't let anyone pull the shame game on you. Never, ever, by implying that spending the night with a guy is connected to shame in any way, okay? Rule number 4. Don't pretend he's more serious about you than he actually is. Now, if there's one rule I adhere to in life, it's that you never delude yourself about anything. Never tell yourself lies, ever. No matter how good it might feel to fantasize about having this guy's kids, writing your first name with his last name, or moving into his place, it's going to hurt you if it goes too far. Don't get ahead of yourself. There's a temptation to think that your feelings are contagious. And if you feel it, well, there must be more meaning behind his text, right? It's always a possibility, but it's not real until it's real. You dig? So always keep your eyes open for the signs and signals. But realize that your vulnerable state, you are going to be very vulnerable in this kind of a relationship. It's going to distort this perception of how interested he is in you and what he really wants. And when you're in doubt, you have to have a friend who can give you the straight truth, not tell you just what you want to hear. Rule number 5, know how you're going to handle the attention. Look, the fact is everyone is sexier when they're getting sex. You just have this glow, right? They always say that. You have that glow of somebody who's getting some. Why is this? Because you've put your needy, desperate vibe on hold while you're getting some. You're getting relaxed, right? This is universally how some guys play the field, by the way. Most guys are astonished at the attention that they get when they're sleeping with somebody. They wonder, what the heck has changed? Before I couldn't get laid to save my life. Now everybody wants me. Well, you stopped acting like a dork. Dork, that's what changed. You relaxed. And the same thing happens with you. Make no mistakes, even with women. Don't be surprised if all the guys suddenly start sniffing around you like a pack in heat. Yeah, they're picking up on your relaxed sexiness that's allowed to come out now that you're getting, I call it O-therapy. Rule number 6, don't go exclusive with anyone until you know what's what. Since you'll be inevitably meeting more guys because of the halo effect of this FWB relationship, you might be tempted to cut off the benefits guy the second that you have things heat up between you and a new guy. Don't. Take some time to feel out a new relationship, okay? You have that luxury now. That's part of what the FWB relationship gives you. It gives you a little bit of breathing room, and you should use that room to screen out the dweebs. This is assuming, of course, you're looking to create a relationship sometime down the road. But don't wait too long. If you know you're going to get the romp and the relationship with somebody, well, you should move on it. Rule number 7, keep your friend with benefits in his place. Don't go pulling this guy to family functions, parties, special events, work events. You need to keep him in his place. It's too confusing to him and for you to start playing this pretend husband game with him, especially if that's you trying to rope him into a long-term committed relationship. LTCR, for those of you who really like acronyms. What will happen is you'll be putting all the structure of a real relationship in where it doesn't belong. And that's horribly manipulative, and it feels like that to a guy sometimes. This also means don't do date activities that distort your relationship. When you blur the lines of your FWB container, you threaten its integrity. And this alone can spook a guy into hooking up elsewhere. Yes, I realize that's always his prerogative, but hey, wait, this brings me to rule number 8. Rule number 8, remember, he's able to go wild too. This one fact can be enough for most women to avoid the whole friends with benefits arrangement. The jealousy is simply too much. I mean, it's convenient, isn't it? If you have a guy that you just know isn't probably going to get laid anywhere else, that you've got him kind of and your own little corral, your pen. Even if you were okay with the no strings attached arrangement and you really didn't want this guy for a long-term boyfriend in the future, just the competition is enough to make some women lose their cool and try to win him as a boyfriend. It kind of distorts how you're looking at things. Even if he really wasn't what you wanted, you might be into it. And I call this the Cupid blinding effect, where the need to establish a relationship, to prove yourself, gets in the way of reality. You really have to go in with the ability to handle that disturbing image of this guy getting his pleasure with somebody else. Yes, it's going to happen, or it might happen. You can make your sexual arrangement exclusive if you like, which is a way around this rule. But again, that can sometimes distort the whole FWB status again, right? Because now you're pretty much acting like boyfriend and girlfriend. So be clear on your vulnerable emotional triggers beforehand. This also means that if your friends with benefits guy is out on a date, that should be totally okay with you. If it isn't, if it's eating at you, if it's making you haunt your phone and look at the clock and get all wired about it, if you get mad at that or you get emotionally caught up in it, you're probably using the FWB thing to just weasel your way into a relationship. Hey, I'm just telling it like it is, okay? Okay? Rule number 9, it's not always about the sex. Yeah, at first, the urge to freely get it on at the drop of a hat might be really liberating, and you can indulge all you like. But sometimes you're going to want to just chill out, maybe say, hey, you know what? Not tonight. Both of you should be able to express this freely and not feel threatened by it. Stay cool with each other. Keep the insecurities down to a minimum, because that's what's going to eventually ruin the arrangement if you let it. Now, I should add the sub-rule here that you need to talk about the mutual rules with him at the start. And along the way, if you have to, remind each other of these rules. You need to have open communication to keep an FWB thing together. The friends with benefits thing doesn't last. It doesn't stay solid if you can't have some communication about it. Remember, though, if your FWB relationship starts to take on real relationship overtones, and both of you talk and you agree that your feelings for each other are growing, then throw all this in the trash and go for it. Don't sit around worried that you're going to lose his friendship or lose the great sex or any of that. Fear of loss has no place when you're going all in on a possible love connection. And that's what you got to do. Just go for it. If it doesn't work, you'll know that you at least tried. And to be honest, there are plenty of other FWB options out there. Trust me on this one. There's plenty of other guys out there. Speaking of which, I have found a way for you to completely skip this whole FWB route. Don't even do it if you don't have to. Like I said, things can go wrong by trying to build a committed relationship from that kind of a relationship. Instead, you could just figure out why guys leave a relationship, FWB or otherwise, so you can just stop him before it's too late. And you should also know the different ways guys unconsciously test a girl. They do this. They test guys do this to find out if you're going to make him happy or not. But the good news is that it's not rocket science to get into his head and understand what he really wants from a relationship and his partner. Go check out my free presentation where I talk about all this. It's your ticket to creating a rock-solid relationship where you're sure that he'll never flake out or ghost on you. Go on over to datingadviceguru.com/connection code. That's datingadviceguru.com/connection code. And go watch my quick video on that and learn how to read them like a book. I'll be talking again soon. Hey, this is Carlos Cavallo, and you're my friend with another kind of benefit. The benefit, you come back next week and hear more about how to make the kind of relationship you want and learn the secrets to open his heart. I'll be talking again soon. This is Carlos from datingadviceguru.com/connection code. Live and love with passion.
datingadviceguru.com, the Dating Advice Guru podcast and YouTube content, and all content herein is copyright Morpheus Productions, LLC. Feel free to contact Carlos at www.datingadviceguru.com, on the forum, or click the Ask Carlos link on the site. We welcome your comments and questions.